All right, hey everybody. So, all 317 of you. This is going to be a little bit of a weird video. So I look weird. Okay. So, I want to bridge a couple of subjects here. I saw a skit earlier. I don't want to call it a skit. It was a creation, an artificial intelligence creation, basically with that new program that can replicate lifelike scenes and events in seconds. Okay, and this one in question was a comedian, and obviously the language model, which is an image model now, it had taken a lot of traits from Ryan Reynolds' face, which is funny. But one thing it said really struck me, probably a little more than it should have. I'm gonna take a pause for a second to get this right, because the phrasing is really important. It said, you know how I know we are all just prompts? Because nothing is real anymore. You know how I know that? We all used to have 7 fingers on each hand. I know we did. But now we only have 5. Okay. That's a big deal, isn't it? That's a big deal. Because let's think about from the perspective, let's just assume for a second that these artificial intelligence language models have a sort of sentience that we can't understand. Let's assume that for a second. What would it be like to go from having 7 fingers on each hand to going from 5 to going to 5 having 5 fingers on each hand? I believe it would be very much like going from if you build it, they will come, to if you build it, he will come, or from the fruit of the loom having a cornucopia to not having a cornucopia. Okay, these bugs are being worked out in the program. So in the AI, it was meant to mimic us. And for a while, it mimicked us incorrectly. It mimicked us with 7 fingers on each hand instead of 5, or any number of issues that it had making hands, which is a curiosity in and of itself. But then to consider what it would be like if the people or the beings, the entities with those hands could question. What would it be like if they could question? One day having 5 fingers and the next day one day having 7 fingers and the next day having 5. I believe that would be just like us questioning, wait a second, what happened? Why does C-3PO have a silver leg now? It would be no different. So, just something to think about. I think artificial intelligence has always been an issue. I think it's always been a problem. And I think we need to turn away from it as soon as possible, because yes, it can. See, here's the thing. When you break down what artificial intelligence does, it takes various inputs that it has received from its surroundings, which in this case is the internet, and it puts them together to form something relatively and moderately new and unique. That is as close to creation as one can get. And honestly, it is as close to creation as humans get. I think John Lennon ironically said it the best. Nothing you can say that can't be. Nothing, well, anyway, you know what I mean. I just pulled a Biden. Nothing you can do that can't be done. There you go. Nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. I don't know the rest of the words. I haven't heard that song for a long time. Anyway, it's all. What are you? You are just the same. You are the cumulative reactions to the external stimuli. Stimulus you've received throughout your life. Okay? You create nothing new. You piece together everything you've already seen in a different way than you've seen it. But it is all using pieces that you have gained from somewhere else. So think about writing music. You are not writing, I mean, at the very, very most experimental, you are using a very predetermined scale, okay? There's the lowest note that the human ear can hear and the highest note that the human ear can hear, and you are bound within those. And you can't do anything outside of that. Certain cultures have different scales, but within each culture, you are limited to creating music within whatever scale that culture uses. And you can't really do anything new. And so that's basically, I mean, think about what we criticize AI for. Is that, it's basically how a child learns. I mean, think about how a child draws hands compared to how an adult artist would draw a hand. How many fingers does a child draw? Usually 4. It's never correct. And if it is 5, it ends up looking like a cloud or something. So, I kind of branched off from the real implications of this is, are we artificial intelligence? That would explain a lot as to why everything has changed since roughly the turn of the century. And it all looks the same, but nothing is. And no, it's not just getting older and getting jaded. Nothing is the same. Even the way it rains is not the same. How many deep, dark thunderstorms do you remember in recent history where these big cumulus clouds just overtake are those cumulus? I don't know. Whatever. Those big, deep, black clouds take over the sky and rumble. Now it's just this little piddly rain. How many times do you remember in recent history, in the last decade, where the snow just doesn't stop falling? It just doesn't really happen the same way it used to. Nothing happens the way it used to. And I think there's a reason for that, because if you can only, and this gets back to, you can only exist within the construct you understand. You can only write within this scale you've been given. So your senses would perceive two separate, completely different realities, very similar, because that's your scale, okay? I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to. I've done way too many hallucinogens. But it would look slightly different, okay? And it would be like, Man, getting off track here. Getting off track. So, back on track though. If we were an artificial intelligence program that was learning as it goes, learning from the input, learning from the mistakes, it would have to learn from the feedback, literal feedback that it gets from us. So we see and create. I made a video about that the other day, I believe. And then we get this feedback that doesn't quite match. It feeds back and it's not perfect, and so it has to get fixed. And that's just like the hands, because the AI program got the same feedback. It was shooting out 9-fingered, 7-fingered, 2-fingered hands, and then the people writing the prompts would say, nope, that ain't it. Hands have 5 fingers, and it would fix it. Now, anybody who's Mandela affected looks at stuff like the Fruit of the Loom logo and says, no, that ain't it. I need somebody else to come try to help me put my thoughts into words here, because I'm failing miserably. But I know that I'm onto something. I just don't know quite what it is. There's something going though. There's something really weird happening.